let's start off with Chelsea-Arsenal. I would say that is marginally the biggest game of the weekend. And I think that if Arsenal don't win this, a lot of people will say they're out of a title race. Obviously, I was ahead of the game on that. I said that a couple of weeks ago that they're not going to do it. But I think with regards to Arsenal, there is this sort of this whole like Arteta not out movement, but he is becoming scrutinised more, and people are starting to say he needs to win a trophy. I sort of disagree on that.
Well, like the whole thing to this conversation is Manchester City are a juggernaut. Manchester City are sort of producing results that hopefully we don't see again in our lifetime. Like nobody wants to see 4, 5, 6 titles back to back, but it does feel in the games where they should be winning and they aren't, like that's where the pressure's coming from. It's not from the 0-0 draw at Manchester City. It's not from the 2-2 draw against Liverpool. It's the Brightons, it's the Bournemouths. And we've sort of spoke about it before, didn't it? But a bit of a soft underbelly, silly mistakes, maybe not the mentality of title winners. And that feels like it's coming to the fore even more this season, but not just over prolonged gaps. It's like back-to-back weekends, isn't it? And now we just sat here, Liverpool 25 points, Arsenal down in 5th, 18, 7-point gap. It's not looking good, bruv.
I think it was 1-1 between Arsenal and Man City.
1-1, sorry,
and
yeah.
I don't know whether it was 2-2 between Liverpool and Arsenal, was it?
It was, yeah.
Maybe it was.
Oh, are you fact-checking?
Well, you got one wrong. Anyway, let's move on. I think in relation to Arsenal, the grass ain't always greener. I think football is such a simple sport, and we've seen it with Rodri and we've seen it with Manchester City, and I think we've seen it with Odegaard. Odegaard's back now. I don't know whether he'll be back enough for the Chelsea game, but what I predict is that with Odegaard back after this international break, Arsenal will start to pick up the points again, and everybody is entitled to a bad spell. The problem we have is that Man City are a juggernaut and you can't afford one, and Arsenal found that out last year and the year before. They already know they're not going to win the title because they've had their bad spell and it's too big. Your bad spell almost needs to be just lose one game, draw one game, but they've dropped too many points, and the red cards, the injury to Odegaard, they've just dropped too many points for me, and Man City and maybe Liverpool will probably not drop as many points. So I think with Arsenal, I get the Arsenal fan frustration. You know, you're in a title race for 2 years, and year 3 you want to win it. But from the outside in, I just don't think, in my opinion, that Arsenal team is good enough to win a title. I think they've done really well, and I don't think that there is a manager out there that I would go, well, Arteta's the problem, let's replace him.
No, and it comes back to some of the points we were speaking about Manchester United about in terms of progression. Like for Arsenal, like you almost have to zoom out, don't you? Staying in the top 4, top 5, whatever it is, getting Champions League football, that's what's going to make you a title challenger. Maybe not this season. Well, they are a title challenger, but a title winner in years to come. The one thing I disagree on, I really do think that this year we're going to be in for one of those Premier League seasons like we have in the past. Like Manchester City are not pulling up trees. Liverpool, they're on fire at the moment, but what do you always say? You want to have your good form when it comes to March, April. Will they be able to do that with Arne Slot? So I do think Arsenal have got a chance to come back into it just because of the nature of the Premier League season. But that's the most exciting thing for me as a neutral, a League One fan. We've got a Premier League season that we can be excited about.
You need Man City to drop points.
But they, Southampton,
and they need
Wolves,
to drop a lot more points than that.
Yeah, but Brighton away this weekend, I mean, that feels like a one that could be, again, it might tie into that thing where Brighton are almost too nice for Manchester City.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about Chelsea-Arsenal, look, Chelsea demolished some pub team last night, didn't they, with their reserves in the Europa League. They will be very good, I think, at the weekend.
Tough place to go, Noah.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Armenia, apparently.
Armenia, there we go. A bit of geography. But I look at Arsenal and I think, you know what Arsenal's biggest problem is? Football, it really annoys me how there is this modern obsession with people sitting there doing little videos on TikTok telling people about half lines and passes and inverted this and, you know, spinning that. And, you know, football's so simple. So simple. And you never see videos about analysis when a team's not doing well. It's always like, when they're doing well, look at this amazing system Arteta's got, or look at this amazing system Amorim's got, or look at this amazing thing Ten Hag's going to do. And then, actually, football's really simple. If you look at Arsenal's problems, I am going somewhere with this. You look at Arsenal's problems at the moment, it's so simple. Odegaard's not there, and they're ridiculously one-dimensional. It's like when you look at them against Newcastle and you look at them against Inter, if they can't score from a corner or a set piece, they need Saka to do something, and it's really predictable. They've had so much possession, and they just don't look like scoring goals. But the minute Odegaard comes back, You've got Odegaard and Saka, and there's a little bit more going on. I think Arsenal's problem is, and it's boring, I did a video on it the other day, is not having a striker. But I also think there are players within that Arsenal squad that aren't doing enough. Like, it always seems to me, and I don't know whether Arsenal fans are doing it, it's always Arteta. It's always Arteta's fault. Always is Arteta's got to win the trophy. Arteta might not be the guy. I look at Martinelli, I just don't get it. I look at Jesus. I don't really get it. Trossard's not consistent either. Havertz really isn't a striker. They're so reliant on Saka and Odegaard, and they haven't had Odegaard for 3 months. But in that time, who's stepping up? Trossard sort of flirted with it. Then he's been very disappointing. Martinelli's ridiculously inconsistent. Havertz runs hot and cold. Jesus... his excuse was he was injured. Now he's not injured. He's still not doing it. Raheem Sterling clearly isn't good enough. It was a risk that hasn't backfired. So I look at Arsenal and it's like, oh, let's replace the manager. You've got 3 or 4 players that are just inconsistent and don't take the opportunity that Odegaard's injury presented.
Yeah, and also it feels a bit with the squad players. It's a bit like Eddie Howe at Newcastle, where like even the players that were getting into the first team at Newcastle, he was coaching them to be better, and he was getting them to be better than the sum of their parts. With some of those squad players, when they're on the best game, like Trossard had that sort of spell last season where he was great, doesn't he? But to agree with you, which pains me, like they're just not consistent enough to bring in to be like, oh, we can rotate the squad this week because we can bring X player in. When they come in, they just don't deliver, and that's what you need, don't you?
Yeah, I think on Martinelli as well, it's like for years he's always been, he's going to be this great player, and I've heard certain Arsenal mates telling me, it feels like for 10 years, he's not been around that long, he can't be 30.
It feels like 10 years.
But he's been like, oh, he's going to be amazing. And he's had the opportunities and he's actually just very inconsistent. He works hard, but he's very inconsistent. So I think Arsenal are where they should be. They're probably going to be 3rd place this year, and they still do need 2 or 3 players, and they need to solve their goal scoring problems because they're one-dimensional. They're brilliant at set pieces, but if they didn't have that, I don't know where they'd score without Odegaard. Chelsea, I think, win this game.
One for me, for sitting down again for a Super Sunday, it can't be as bad as last Sunday, because I was so looking forward to my chicken dinner, sitting down and having a nice time, and then to watch that, it actually put me off my chicken.
What, Chelsea Man United?
Oh God, it was awful, wasn't it?
What you got this weekend? Chelsea chicken again?
No, I might go lamb this week.
Lamb?
Yeah.
In lamb?
Pork?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go pork.
See, silence me. I just yeah.
Pork. Either or, lamb or pork.
Bit of red cabbage.
Yeah.
Bit of proper English mustard, crackling. Lovely.
I'm really, just getting. I just love vegetables at the moment.
Yeah, I had a pie and vegetables last night. Didn't have any mash.
No mash.
Had some Brussels as well.
What sort of pastry top was it?
Butter baked, whatever. I don't know.
A slab of butter.
I don't know.
I love butter.
But yeah, I think Chelsea will win it because I think Arsenal at the moment, the same reason we'll talk about Liverpool Villa, which I think is a great game at a shit time. But I think that at the moment Villa are a good team, Arsenal are a good team, Man City are a good team. I don't think Brighton, Chelsea, and Liverpool will all get wins. Maybe one of them won't, but I do think that.
But isn't it nice that you've got to think about it? Whereas before, like we're at the stage where you go, Man City roll over, Liverpool roll over, but this season has shown that Saturday, Sunday we can expect shocks.
Yeah, and I think with Arsenal they will be better, but I think this is almost going to be their last game, where it's like, oh, I can see them having a difficult international break because they've dropped so many points, and I think they'll definitely drop points against Chelsea.
Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video because we all know only legends like videos and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching as always.